So what instrument should you learn? Well, why not start with something you like? This is the best advice I could give to you. If there's an instrument that you've always thought about and like, oh, I like the sound of that, start there. There's no more need to think about what other instruments is there. Start with what you like. Another consideration would be, what is the genre of music that you listen to the most? If you like rock, maybe you could play bass guitar, or drums, or electric guitar. If you like jazz, what about double bass, or the saxophone? Start with what it is that you listen to the most. For me, I like orchestral music, and I particularly like the stringed section. And so for my next instrument, I would probably go down the road of playing a cello or the violin. I would definitely avoid the viola, but each to his own. When considering what instrument to play, you might want to consider if you want to play a melodic instrument or a harmonic instrument. So what do I mean? Well, melodic instruments are instruments which can only produce one sound at a time. So we're talking things like the flute, the trumpet, the clarinet. They don't ever play more than one tone. And so these types of instruments are great for maybe joining a band, like maybe your local school band, or maybe there's a rock band or a jazz band where you can play the saxophone in. These types of instruments are melodic instruments. If you're a singer or a songwriter, maybe consider more harmonic instruments such as the piano or the guitar. These types of instruments actually are really good for playing chords and accompanying yourself. So consider, what are you going to use your instrument for? Another thing to consider when choosing your instrument is, what are the costs involved in purchasing or learning that instrument? In most music stores you can go to, you can actually rent a musical instrument. And for those of you who are parents, this is a great way to give your kids an experience in learning an instrument. And if for some reason they don't enjoy it, you can just return the instrument without too much of an expense. Another thing to consider is, if you do purchase an instrument, consider the costs involved around getting that instrument. So like the cost of a teacher, cost of traveling to and from lessons, the cost of time, or some instruments, for example, have extra things you need to purchase with them. For example, if it's the violin you play, you'll need to buy rosin. If it's the trumpet, then you'll need trumpet valves or trumpet oil. So consider these things when learning an instrument, that it might take a bit more money than just the purchase of the instrument. Another consideration is, what are you going to use your instrument for? Maybe you've got a local school band that you want to join, or maybe you have some friends who play in an orchestra. This is a great way to decide what instrument you want to learn. You can pick an instrument that really fits in to that group of friends. So if it's a rock band, for example, and you've got a drummer and you've got an electric guitar, maybe you should be the lead vocalist, or maybe you should play a melodic instrument. There's no point having two drummers. If it's a school band, maybe go to your teacher and ask them, hey, miss, what's an instrument I could learn? This is a great way if you can't decide what instrument to learn. Another thing to consider is the size of the instrument. So if you've got a young child at home, giving them a double bass is a bit of an overkill. The double bass is 2 times as big as the child themselves. If you gave them a guitar and they're like 3 years old, they can barely hold the guitar. So I would consider how old your child is, and also how are you going to transport that instrument. On the other hand, there are instruments which are great to take around. For example, the guitar. Now, I am a piano player, and one of the most frustrating things that I found with learning the piano was that I couldn't take that around campfires. And I was around a lot of campfires when I was younger. But the guitar, now that's an instrument that you can bring around a campfire. And I remember always looking jealously onto the guitarists who would bring their instruments around a campfire. I'm like, oh, if only I could play the guitar. So when considering your next purchase, your next instrument, think about how you want to use it. Do you want it to be portable? Do you want it to be stationary? These are good things to think about.